Recorded live with little or no editing. It's Defense Up. I'm Run7. How you doing? Today and tomorrow's videos are kind of special. There are smaller rosters from newer players who have done some interesting things, and I wanted to showcase two different ways of going about it if you're just starting to build your defenses in war. And I think both of these are pretty good examples. There's a very special one coming out tomorrow with a really exciting team, so be sure to check out tomorrow's video also. But today we're doing Yamato's team. Now Yamato does, in my opinion, like a standard kind of what you want to be doing as a new player. Nothing tricky, but just solid. This is the cut and dry, pretty simple stuff here, but they're good defenses for newer players. We grade on 5 different criteria. It's who you're using, their placement, their power levels, their ISOs, and what kind of mood I'm in. I just failed miserably at tower, but all my friends were here and they made the losses not hurt so bad. So I'm feeling okay. All right, team number 1. Get this microphone out of the way here. There we go. All right. Team number 1 is a Wave 1 Asgardians. Now, we replaced Black Widow with Captain Marvel, and that's okay. She doesn't have a ton of synergy, but it's a place to put her. She's just a plug-and-play character. She is really power crept, though. I kind of like putting Heimdall in here instead, because then you can't blind Thor. But Thor isn't in here. Oh, I'm sorry. We replaced Thor, not Black Widow. Look at that. Okay. Thor's a way better choice for this. But I remember now. I remember. We're going to come across Thor in a minute. It's still totally acceptable. You don't want to do Heimdall without Thor. The whole point of having Heimdall in is his synergy with Thor and keeping Thor from being blinded. This is fine. A lot of people are going to see this Wave 1, not even realize what's going on here. All the standard counters still kind of work. So it's not going to really net you any DVs, but it's pretty good. You've got healer on Hulk and Captain America, and that's good. You do want to change your placement though, so that Hulk and Captain America are off to the side, and then Black Widow, and then everybody else. Black Widow goes under stealth, and then you get all your chain attacks bouncing around there on your tanks, and it speeds the team up, and it does pretty good. You went Striker Skirmisher on Black Widow and Hawkeye, and that's correct. Striker on Captain Marvel. There's too many. Oh my goodness. Too many names. So this is all good. All I want to see is a placement change. I could give you an A, as is. It's an A-. It's really not going to make a difference, but the placement change is what you can always do. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything to do a placement change, and it helps. Team number 2 is a quasi Mercs. Now you put Scientist Supreme in here to throw a wrench into things, and that's kind of cool. I kind of like that. You might be using some of those AIM members for some of those campaign nodes, and Scientist Supreme is the best of the AIM in my opinion. I do like her as a healer. On this low-level Merc team, I think it's fine throwing her in here. This is something you can kind of do. Normally, I would say throw her in here in place of Shuri, but you went hard and got Shuri unlocked and built up already, so, you know, Shuri's going to keep this team alive. She's going to do huge heals on this team. I actually would like to see Merc Lieutenant in here, either in place of Scientist Supreme or in place of Killmonger. But Killmonger's your striker with Taskmaster as your skirmisher, so you're getting a double, triple hit combo there, and that's pretty good. Oh, the biggest mistake that's happening here is that you've got your Merc Riot Guard off to the side, so you're losing deflex. He puts out deflex to adjacent tunes. So I would say swap places. Actually, let's do a big placement swap. Let's go Taskmaster, Riot Guard, Killmonger, then Shuri, and then Scientist Supreme. I think that's probably going to be your placement change. I think your ISOs are good enough. And yeah, I'm gonna give you a B+ for this. It's not too bad. I would like to see Lieutenant in here. I think Lieutenant's actually for a minion. Lieutenant's probably the best minion in the game. I mean, he gives off energy, he gives speed up. He's actually pretty good. And if you make him a striker, then every other turn he's going to be getting a double tap also. All right, team number 3 is the Web Warriors. Is what it is. You got the perfect ISOs. Placement isn't such a big deal. I kind of prefer Scarlet and Ghost on the wings. So it'll go somebody, Scarlet, somebody, and then Ghost, and then somebody else. And it doesn't really matter where you put the rest of them, because Scarlet and Ghost Spider are the hot targets. And if they're gone, then there's no chain attacks for anybody else. It's something you can do. This team has a lot of RNG. They do sometimes come back for a clutch win. You never know. So I'm going to go A- on this. You're headed in the right direction. Of course, you do need to build this team up and level them out a little bit, but I like the ISOs. I just today in tower mode realized why Skirmisher on OG Spider-Man is valuable. You don't need it for raids, or at least I haven't needed it for raids, but it's valuable. I think you could use it. Yeah, so I think you're doing fine. I'm going to go A-, a little tweak on placement. It will do you some good. Okay, Doc Ock Sinister 6. I hate this team. It always starts out as a C because for me, it's very easy to beat. And, but it still seems to net some defensive victories for others. And Doc Ock gets left on the field and he's a pain in the butt to get rid of when he's by himself. But I don't like this team and I don't want people to be using it. I think you get more value out of Doc on a hybrid team. However, yeah, you're not even building this team the right way. You need to get Rhino in here, so Rhino will cleanse adjacent and put him next to Doc Ock and somebody else. I like Mysterio as a striker. Skirmisher is okay, but he clears positive effects on his basic assist, and so making him a striker, and he calls assists, and someone else a skirmisher, he'll call in that assist and get the double tap and clear positive effects. But otherwise, I think it's fine. You know, whether you go Raiders, Skirmisher, or even sometimes Striker on the other people, doesn't really matter. Vulture's almost always a Raider, and of course Doc Ock is always a healer. So I'm actually going to go C-. I'd like to see you put Rhino in here, but more than that, I'd like to see you take Doc Ock off of this team and use him elsewhere. And then just use the OG Sinister 6 as a filler. All right, Heroes for Hire. You got a great big Shang-Chi. You got good ISOs on everybody. I do think you should change Iron Fist to a skirmisher now while you haven't invested in him yet. The thing is that almost all of the counters, yeah, I think all the counters for this team use heal block to some degree or another. Most of them use it extensively. And so you don't get a lot of value out of his healing. And it's probably better to just have that offensive capabilities by putting the vulnerable on the field and having Colleen Wing work off of that. Yeah, you're headed in the right direction. Otherwise, you've got great placement. You got all the rest of the ISOs are really good. Healer isn't a bad ISO. I just prefer Skirmisher. And you're low enough now, you can change it without wasting too much of an investment. And I think you really should do that. Bring up those girls into the purple, get this team up to about 350, and you should be doing just fine. Make sure your Shang-Chi is bigger than everybody else and let people underestimate how powerful this team is. It could fall apart with your two members being so small. So build them up to 30K at least. Get them up into the purple and you should be doing really good. I'm going to give you an A- for this. You're headed in the right direction there. Team number 6. Okay, I don't like who you're using on this Red Skull Hydra team, but I think the Red Skull Hydra team is a very... Excuse me. I think the Red Skull Hydra team is a very useful team, especially for newer players. They can easily access all the members and build this team up, and you don't even have to build them up very big to be a headache for your opponent. You know, what I think you should do is take a look at Winter Soldier and decide if you're going to do that unlock. And if you are, go ahead and leave him in here and build him way up to the unlock status of however far you're going to unlock that character. I don't remember. Is that a Omega Red? I can't remember. Then on Crossbones, what you want to do with Crossbones, now this is important. You take Crossbones off of this team, you put him at the bottom of your roster, and you never look at him again. Crossbones is garbage. Any minion is better than Crossbones. Take the guard minion. He's great. He'll taunt for you. And then when he dies, he'll come back and play some more. Whereas Crossbones will kill himself. My God, I hate Crossbones. He's terrible. You already overinvested in him. It's a disaster. As soon as you get anybody anywhere near, like if you get a minion half as powerful as Crossbones, it's time to replace him. I like scientist or researcher, whatever this guy is. I like Grenadier. I like the guard, and I like Hydra Sniper. Hell, I even like Trooper's got some value. When he spawns in, he sprays everybody. So that's good. The thing to do with the Hydra Red Skull team is to build up the minions. Don't bother putting too much investment in Red Skull unless you want to use Red Skull elsewhere. He has some good maneuvers, like his special, gaining 30% turn meter for the entire team. That's good, but he won't die if he has 4 people around him, so you don't really have to invest in Red Skull if you don't want to. You can just build the minions up to a minimum amount, And this team's a headache for people. They have to invest more in the counter than you did for the defense. And the only reason I say save Winter Soldier on this team, because Winter Soldier kind of sucks in my opinion too. I'm really pissed he's an unlocked character. The only reason I say save him is because you have to build him to unlock that character anyway. So you might as well put him on the team and not build one of the minions and save some resources there. All right. What you got going on here? Oh, by the way, just put Fortifier on all the minions, or you can keep them. Striker's okay on Grenadier, that's fine. Healer on Researcher, that's fine. Those are good. Those are the kind of the native ISOs there. You can also go Raider on Grenadier. Hell, you can go Skirmisher on Grenadier. And then whoever you sub in here, I think you should go Fortifier on them. The reason I like Fortifier is they die and they revive with that barrier, and you get a lot of value out of that Fortifier mechanic. That's one of the few places where Fortifier actually works really well. So that's what I think you should do. As is, this is a pretty meh team. You can clip these guys off, and then Red Skull's taking 50% damage, and this team's gonna fold pretty fast. So I think this is like a D+ the way you have it. So swap at least one of these guys out and build the other one up. If not, swap them both out. Team number 7 is the Pimtech team. Okay, so you got pretty good ISOs on here. Yeah, no, I like your ISOs. I like your ISOs. Your ISOs are great. This is the way you should do ISOs. I just think you should do a placement change. And I think you kind of over-invested in Wasp, and you probably should have invested into Yellow Jacket instead. But what's done is done. I don't think you should. Don't invest in Yellow Jacket if you don't have to. If you don't have that raid lane, don't worry about it. Just take Ghost and use her where you need her, and that's it. What you're going to do is you're going to go Stature, then you're going to go Ghost, then Yellow Jacket, then Wasp, and then Ant-Man to the outside is how you want your placement. Yeah, that'll work well. Especially with Yellow Jacket being so little, if he dies, there'll be a gap in the middle, and then it'll make it, all the chain attacks will just be worthless. Okay, so placement change, and I could give you an A for this team. The power levels of this team don't really matter. It's all about just having a big ghost. That's all it is. So as is, I'm gonna give you a B+ because that placement is way wonky. Team number 8 is your Asgardians. Now, normally I give Asgardians an F for starting out, but at your level of play, there's either going to be no symbiotes available to your opposing team because they just haven't unlocked them yet, or they're going to have like a big symbiotes because they're an OG player playing in a smaller alliance or something, and they're not going to want to punch down into this. Or it's going to be the Axemen, which again, they might not have Jubilee unlocked, and if they do, they built it up big for raids, and they're not going to want to punch down into this. So at your level of war, this is actually an okay idea. I do like Thor better on the Wave 1 Asgardians. I think you get a lot of value out of him. So don't invest in this team anymore. You could invest in Heimdall a little if you wanted to. But in a little while, you're going to use Hela on an offensive team, you're going to use Loki on an offensive team, and you're going to use Thor on that Wave 1 Avengers. You're going to put Sif in the garbage, and you're going to keep Heimdall on the bench just in case you want to sub him in on the Wave 1 Avengers in place of, say, Black Widow or something. It's the thing you can do. Your ISOs are okay. On this team, Hela should be a striker. Don't change her, though. She's not going to be here that much longer. On this team, she's a striker because Loki places a taunt on a 5-piece, only the 5-piece. He places a taunt, then Hela goes into that, and she can get a double tap with that striker, and you get a lot of value out of that opener to really just destroy somebody. She's also spreading negative effects too. Off of this team, you do want her a raider, so I'm not going to dock you for those ISOs. I think you should keep the ISOs the way they are. It's good enough. Thor should be a raider. But again, you already invested in him as a striker, and it's good enough. And besides, you have Hela as a raider on this team, so there's going to be some more vulnerables for him to work off of. In fact, you've got 2 people putting out vulnerables, 2 people soaking them up. That's cool. Heimdall should be a raider, and you haven't gone very far on this, so it's only 1 point. So change him to a raider. He does a lot of area of effect attacks, and that's what you should do. Sif doesn't need to be a fortifier, but who cares? You already built her up, and she's going to be going in the dumpster soon anyways, so just leave her. Otherwise, I like her as either a raider or a skirmisher. something like that, just for those extra vulnerables and stuff. But don't change her. It's what's done is done. I'm going to give you a B+ for this team, which is very unusual for me. But at your level of play, I think it's a good team to have in there. And then later on, other alliances, bigger alliances sometimes have their entire alliance load up an Asgardian team because they want to start soaking up speed metas, because everybody else is putting symbiotes and axemen on defense right now. And so if you have a whole bunch of these huge Asgardian teams, all of a sudden, alliances are like, oh man, what am I going to do? You know, they scramble to switch their whole offensive game around. But that's a strategy for the other end, so don't worry about that. All right, let's move on here. Team number 9. This is an absolute junk filler team. It does not matter what ISOs you put on this team. It does not matter where you place these team members. There is nothing you can do to keep this team from being one-shot by anything, and you do not want to invest in this team any more than you have to unlock Fury so that you can use Fury's special on certain teams. Fury doesn't need to be big. You just need to have him available on like that SA team on offense to use his special and speed that team up. So you don't have to have high stars on Fury, so you don't have to get these guys built up to unlock Fury that high. I think what you're doing here is just fine. It's a filler team. It's slightly better than Shield Guards. They're going to come into this with like one big toon who's left over from their roster, like, I don't know, like a leftover Karnak or something, and throw it on auto, and he's going to clean sweep this team, and that's fine. It's just a use of energy. This is every bit as good as Shield Guards and should merit just as much of your attention. So for you and where you're at in war, I'm giving you an A for this team because this is like the minimal investment you have to get Fury unlocked and going, and I think you're doing just fine. You probably overinvested in the ISOs a little bit, but I think that happened before you understood how the ISOs play out. So, you know, learning curve right there. I'm gonna go ahead and give you an A for this team though. There's nothing wrong with it. It really doesn't matter. These ISOs are actually okay. I'd like Skirmisher over here, Striker here. I'd like a placement change. Put this guy in the middle, and yeah, you want her off to the side so she's always summoning Reaper as her assist, and Reaper's going to be adding heal block or bleeds or whatever Reaper does, and then make Reaper a skirmisher and then her a striker. That way you get double taps off it. Not that it matters. Like I said, this team's going to get swept. Now, there is no Team 10 on this defense up because Team 10 is Shield Guards, and we all know what those look like. And Shield Guards are perfectly fine for newer players to be using. You build offense before defense because you want wins. If you can't get kills, you cannot win. If you can't get kills, you can't get currency. If you can't get currency, you can't grow your roster. And it's all about growing your roster for raids so that you can go further in Dark Dimensions, so that you can unlock those cool tunes like Doom and Dormammu, so that you can bring them back into war and kick the crap out of the opposing helicarrier. It's that vicious circle of life. Anyways, this has been Defense Up for Yamato. I think he's doing just a fine job as an entry-level player here with this starting defense, saving all of his good stuff for offense. I think you should too if you're a newer player. Be sure to check out tomorrow's video for some fancy trickery that you can do if you're just starting out and haven't already built up certain tunes. Remember, guys, don't just have a good game, be good to yourselves and others too, and I'll catch you next time. Bye.